Once upon a time, a group of people heard about this special place called the Cave of Truth. And they decided to set out in search of it. Little did they know it was quite a difficult journey. Many told them there wasn't such a place, but they persevered on. And then one day they came upon a cave that had an extremely older gentleman there guarding its entrance. And they asked him, "Is this the Cave of Truth?" He answered that it was. And they asked if they could go inside. And he said, "Well, how deep into the Cave of Truth do you wish to travel?" At that, they stopped. They began to realize maybe this wasn't such a great idea, and they talked among themselves. And then finally, one of them spoke up and said, "Well, we'd like to go just deep enough to say that we have been there." And therein lies the rub. We want the truth. The truth is all there is. And yet we spend so much time, in a sense, playing around in our minds. We go only so deep as to keep ourselves comfortable. But the truth exposes. Ultimately, it sets us free. Ultimately, it delivers what Jesus Christ says in this gospel, a peace that the world cannot give. He doesn't give peace like it's a nice day today. It would still be Jesus' peace if it was a miserable day. It's not about that. It's so much deeper. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are truly tiny matters when compared to that which lies within us." To discover what lies within each and every one of us is, to me, one of the big reasons for being here. As much of the world kind of does their thing, we're seeking something deeper. And Jesus Christ wants us, our journey, to become his journey, to transform our way of life into his way of life. And so he gives us today the ultimate gift, the gift of himself, the gift of God, the gift of the Holy Spirit, which isn't somewhere out there, but right here within each and every person in this church. The Holy Spirit is not just some kind of cutesy little image of a dove or of peace, of this or that. It's not this little good angel that sits on one shoulder to fight with the devil that's on the other shoulder. Those are nice little kiddish things, but the Holy Spirit is something that affects us, that touches us, that defines us. And it calls us to a whole different way of life. Challenging, to say the least. We look around the world and there's a tiny percentage of people who repay evil for good. There is sources of profound evil in the world. We can't deny that. Most of us kind of work on the good for good and evil for evil kind of thing. When someone's nice to me, I'm nice to them. God forbid somebody does something, says something, acts a certain way, then I want to go right down there with them. And then there's that other equally small group that repays evil with good. Not being led by others. Not being people that just react, but people who act. Not with any agenda. Not with an agenda that we're going to convert anybody or make anybody different or change them or so on and so forth, because that's just not real. And that should not be the purpose. And so we don't act a certain way because it yields said results, but rather it's because it's who we're called to be. It may sound impossible, and it would be impossible if we try to do it by ourselves. But that Spirit that Jesus Christ speaks about, he has to go so that the Spirit can come. And that Spirit lies within us. A voice of God who doesn't merely visit the truth or touch on the truth or kind of enters only so deeply, but is the truth and invites us in the truth and the love of God and tells us nothing else is real.